DSA 1, UGA fan rants and opinions. With the second one, the second thing I wanted to talk about was Deion Sanders leaving JSU for Colorado. I listened to TJ LSU dad have his thoughts on it, and I feel like he do. I feel like, well, let me reiterate that. I look at it as if Deion Sanders has done a hell of a lot for the image of HBCUs that did not get a lot of views because of the situation that they in, and I'm saying that in regards to not getting a lot of viewership. And you will see, depending on where you live, you will see the HBCUs play on their local stations and possibly online or something to that effect. Within this past year, they got, I'm saying HBCUs as a whole, as far as football goes, they got a year-long contract, what I want to say CBS or ESPN or both, for next year, so they can get their games put on the national stage for them to get viewed, so they can get viewed. When I heard Deion saying he wasn't going to leave to a degree, and I'm saying to a degree because I think it was his second year coming into this year, he wasn't going to leave X and X, Y, and Z on that type of situation, I kind of started looking at it funny, because I've always heard 90% of the time coaches say they're not leaving a program that does this, that, and the third. And then on top of that, with some of the things he was mentioning, because a reporter asked him, do he see Jackson State playing a school like Alabama? And he made some great points. You can't play a school on a Power 5 level with a G5 type school like Jackson State and expect to even give them a competition. Not even beat them, but give them a run for their money. Because I think in that same interview he mentioned having certain schools on their level play these bigger schools and have them young men go out there and get beat the hell up. Not so much as physically, but points wise. Get beat up and get scored on 50 something to nothing or 50 to 12 or whatever the case may be, and you take a 300,000, million and a half paycheck to do that. And then he started breaking down the analytics to how that went, because a lot of that money goes to them being flown out, them having hotel rooms, and then that money goes back to the school. So you really don't see that whole million and a half if that's the pay that you're getting for playing these larger schools. So when he was naming that, it gave me the mindset of, okay, Deion is in it for quote unquote the culture, to put a spotlight on what's going on. And he said some very valuable things. I give him that. He put such a spotlight and a hype on HBCUs. I started watching more or catch as many games as I could. Like I said in my other video, I was looking at the Jackson State Southern game. And it's hard to catch some of these games because of the Power 5 schools and their contracts with these entities, to where you can't catch those games unless they're playing. Like, let's say Tuskegee was to play Alabama or Auburn. That's one of the only times you'll probably see them. Nick Saban's not going to pay these schools to come play them. We already know that. And if you don't know, I'm telling you, yeah, he's not going to pay too many small schools in the state of Alabama outside of Auburn, which is an annual rival, which don't count, to play Alabama. They barely play UAB, Tuskegee. They don't play them schools. Nick Saban ain't doing that. So with it being in regards to what Deion was saying, I was thinking he wasn't going to leave until, I want to say, Shiloh left, because I think Shiloh is a sophomore and Shakur is a junior or a senior. I wasn't thinking he was going to leave until both of them left, which is something I can understand. But then on top of that, the other thing I took into consideration is that he tried to go to FSU and be a coach there. They didn't want it. So he was like, bump it, God called me to come be at Jackson State. Well, did God call you to go to Colorado? I mean, money plays a big part in people's lives. And this also goes to what Deion was saying when I think it was Nick Saban and some of the other people who was talking about, oh, they got Travis Hunter an NIL deal of X amount of dollars. And Deion said, how in the hell can a teenager make more than the head coach? I should have picked it up then that he was already, not already looking, but was still in his view looking for something better. That I don't knock a man for doing what's best for him and his family. I'm not gonna knock that. But at the same time, don't put on like you doing it for the culture, or you doing it because, as he said, what's wrong with Travis Hunter coming and playing in front of his people? Like, I applauded him for that. And like TJ LSU dad said, it's bittersweet. It's bitter because he's leaving and going to Colorado, but it's sweet because of the stuff that he did ahead of that. And that's not what I'm knocking. I'm not going to knock Deion for what he did. In a sense, he really didn't have to do much. It just came with him. He came there, did what anybody would do in that situation with the caliber of man that he is. He talked trash. He showed out. He put on a show, per se, and it brought eyes to the atmosphere of HBCUs that haven't gotten that. I mean, a lot of us, as far as black people are concerned, we still cherish HBCUs, but we also cherish the teams that we pull for. Like me, I pull for Georgia. Georgia's my team, but I also try to catch a Georgia Southern, a Georgia State, Clark Atlanta. I think Morris Brown just got their football program back. I could be wrong on that, but a Morris Brown. I look to catch those schools playing, but as far as being on television, those schools are not being looked at on NBC, ABC, ESPN, Disney Plus, Fubo, FUBO, Hulu. They're not getting that type of play like that for real. If anything, you're gonna catch a Kennesaw State, you're gonna catch an Appalachian State, you're gonna catch a UAB. You might catch FAMU because their homecoming is very well known. A Southern, depending on who they playing. Rice, those schools, you're not gonna really see them on prime time. Not even prime time. You're not gonna see them on TV like that for real. And I could be wrong, but from what I've tried to look at as far as football, I don't really see them schools getting a lot of playing time as far as viewership like that for real. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see them getting a lot of viewership. They get it, but it's not compared to a UCLA, a Tennessee, a Louisville, a Miami, a Syracuse, a Pitt, the Commodores, Arkansas, Kansas State, Iowa State, Arizona State. They're not getting views like those schools are. And it's harder for the Pac-12 to get them because they play 2 to 3 hours behind everybody else. So by the time it's 7 o'clock over there and they're starting, it's 10:30 over here. But there's still a well-known brand that they get those views. A Boise State, Idaho State, North Dakota, Texas, I think it's North Texas. Those smaller schools, they're getting views because of the conference that they're in and the side of the country that they're on. They're getting those views, but HBCUs ain't getting looked at like that. And that's one thing that Deion spoke to. It's like, how do you expect the HBCUs to compete with the bigger schools, not even the Power 5 schools, but to compete with bigger schools when they're not getting the money to do it? That goes back to what I was agreeing with TJ LSU dad. It's a bittersweet thing. To me, it truly is. It's bittersweet. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not mad that he's doing what he does. I'm not mad at him doing what he is doing to benefit his family. He's always wanted to be at a bigger school. Just Jackson State was a stepping stone to get there. He showed out he's 25-5 or 27-5 as far as the record goes. He's going to Colorado. Hopefully they can pull out some wins with him. I mean, because if he goes in there and does a Mel Tucker, have one good season out of 4, the people are going to talk trash. They're going to light him up on the internet. You should have stayed at Jackson State. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it in the aspect of a hypothetical of what people are going to say. You did all this talking about helping out the culture, but you booked in 3 years and went to Colorado. But that's always what he wanted to do. Do people really think that it really would have been an issue if he would have got in at Florida State first and then progressed from there? Or is it a big deal because he said what he said, he did what he did, and he's leaving from Jackson State in Mississippi to go to Colorado? I mean, I thought about that too. But to go to what I was speaking on in my first video, this championship week for Georgia, to me, or weekend, let me know that Georgia defense needs to tighten up. I'm probably going to flip-flop because I wonder if Travis Hunter is going to leave. I wonder if both his sons are going to leave. And I wonder how the culture in Colorado is going to look compared to the culture in Jackson, Mississippi. To me, I think it's a widely different thing, not even a culture shock per se, but you're going from 2 different aspects of life. And back to Georgia, some people want Georgia to play Ohio State first. To me, I might sound crazy, but I would rather take the weakest way or the easiest path to the playoffs just by what I've seen Georgia doing and the threats that I see in front of them. Pick your battles, but in this aspect you can't because you can only play who's in front of you. Georgia has to play Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going to score about 30 points. LSU scored 30, and they started airing it out in the second half. I ain't say we couldn't stop it. We couldn't slow it down. Stopping it is not going to happen. Not with this secondary. And I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I knew the defense was going to take a step back, per se. And this is a step back. Even last year's team weighed heavily on the defensive line. The defensive line can't do it all. The corners and the safeties got to slow these receivers down. They might not be able to lock them down to where it's like the quarterback's not going to throw to that side. Because as long as Keely Ringo in there, they got a side to throw to. As long as the opposing team has a dual threat quarterback, or at least a scrambling quarterback, the middle of the field is going to be open. And I'm saying that because damn near the whole team will watch the quarterback and not watch the other 6 players move around. I mean, the other 5 players move around. That's including the tight end / a running back that comes out the backfield or goes out into the flat. Like, if Georgia can't pick up on that and keep them dudes from dinking and dunking, not keep them, but slow them down from dinking and dunking down the field, getting 5, 10, 15 yards here and there, and then hit you with a 40-yard bomb that scores a touchdown, we're in trouble. We're going to be in serious trouble as a fan base. And some of these fans, I already know they're going to be talking hella shit to some of these Ohio State fans. And I know a lot of these but I'm quite sure a lot of these Ohio State fans are going to be talking shit right back. Even though Uncle Lou brought it up that Ohio State has not beaten Georgia, ever. I'm not even going to take that into consideration because this is a whole new year, a whole new ball game. It's a whole new system in play. Do I think Georgia can play up to par and possibly do what Michigan did to Ohio State? Yeah, I believe it. But at the same time, I think Michigan defense, as far as passing, is good enough to hold Ohio State to what they held them at for 2 years in a row. Do I think Georgia passing defense is capable of doing that? I say 50-50. So until Georgia shows, the defense coordinator show that they have gotten information in these last 3 weeks that's coming up to this game, well, the next 3 weeks that's coming up to these games, as to what they're looking like and as to how the personnel has been able to adjust and adapt and overcome those mistakes. I'm not saying completely overdo it, because 3 weeks is not enough. To get good enough to slow them down and to be a major problem, I don't see Georgia winning a shootout with those two teams, Michigan or Ohio State, or TCU, depending on who wins between Michigan and TCU, or with Ohio State and Georgia. This is DSA1 UGA fan rants and opinion, and I'm out.